Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are returning to the My Favorite LJN tournament. Currently, we are on round 3, part 3. And I've got to say, between kind of balancing the workload between the My Favorite LJN tournament as well as kind of working on the Hasbro review videos. So far, I've knocked out a couple of those Hasbros. And like I said, man, they're not like really your prototypical review videos. They're kind of like more like, chatting videos and kind of like personal history. So they are like really enjoyable videos. I am getting a lot of enjoyment, a real kick out of those review, I guess, if you want to call it that. So far, again, first couple of videos, an hour to an hour and a half long, and we've knocked out the first video being posted, and the second video is about an hour and a half. That's going to be posted next Tuesday, so we are going to continue on the Hasbro review every Tuesday morning. So the way things are shaping up right now, I'm probably looking at getting these LJN videos out maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So we will definitely be done with the tournament way before Christmas. I'm thinking I'm probably going to cut myself off about December 15th. I'm thinking around probably December 10th at the latest, but no later than December 15th. We will definitely be done with this tournament. So, and I'm probably going to start in November, but if I don't start in November, definitely in December, we are going to go hot and heavy into kind of looking at a lot of the different Hasbro style figures. I really want to look at the Rush collectibles because I am going to cut myself off from Rush. I'm just not pleased with the serviceability and the lead time of the figures. I'm not pleased with the customer service of those companies. I'm not pleased with Zombie Sailors at all right now. I've talked about sending out message after message after message. Grapplers and Gimmicks, same thing, man. I mean, I have shouted out these companies video after video. Probably spent literally, forget hundreds. No, we're probably in the thousands of dollars for each of these companies, and the free publicity I give them in their videos, and it's a damn shame that I can't even get a single response. So I'm pretty much at this point. I am kind of cutting myself off. Rush Collectibles, their figures are terrible. Their service is horrific. The lead time sucks. I'm not buying from them anymore. Asylum, I've given up on them altogether. Zombie Sailors, this last batch of figures, I'm done. Grapplers and Gimmicks, I'm still gonna go through because I still like what I'm getting, of course. I still think that their figures are the most Hasbro-like, and at least Mitch does at least sometimes come through with the message, so that's something. Latuni, I'm still waiting on figures from them. They are, of course, the new LJN style figures. I really hope those guys come out before the end of November. I want to do reviews on those new figures. Those are going to be amazing. Big Rubber Guys, I'm hoping has some new figures coming out by the end of November, hopefully early December. So I'm hoping to get some more of those in. Man, between these LJN style figures, Hasbro style figures, a lot of excitement stuff. The figures I talked about from Asylum, the Series 2 Remco style figures. I look back at it, December 2023. That's when I ordered the Series 2 figures. So, 12 months. It's been 12 months since I ordered these figures. I mean, it's a couple weeks shy of a full 12 months. And there is just no... I talked to Mike the other day, messaging, and they're not even close to being released. So I'm like, look, I'd rather just take the refund right now as opposed to waiting anymore. I mean, this is if they come in 6 months from now, if you could set them aside for me, I will buy them when they're on hand. Or if I'm really that interested in buying them at that point, I'd rather buy them. I'd rather pay twice the price and go get them off of eBay than than this. If they're really that imperative that I need to buy them. But I think Tatanka was like one of those guys that were part of that Series 2 lot. I think Paul Orndorff was one of those characters. But it's been such a long time, I don't even remember the characters that I was buying. I mean, was Sergeant Slaughter a part of it? Like, I remember a soldier, I think. Like, it's been such a long time, I don't even remember the characters I ordered. And that's what I'm talking about. With, like, zombie sailors and Asylum figures from, like, Epic Toys and stuff like that. These pre-orders, you sit around and you're waiting 12 months for these figures to come in, and you get these advertisements. Hey, get your figures now before they run out. Grapplers and Gimmicks does that every couple months. Get your figures before they run out, and then you end up with like 6 of British Bulldog and Diana figures. You end up. I literally have like 6 tag team sets of Diana and British Bulldog because I didn't realize I had already ordered that figure several times already. And they don't do refund, or they don't do any returns, so I'm stuck with that crap. So a couple of pre-video comments per usual. As I said in my last video, I'm not worried about doing any. I'm not focusing anymore on shortening my videos. If the videos run an hour, they run an hour. I will kind of make that a goal of mine in 2025 to kind of focus on shortening videos and time management. But no, right now I will just make the videos. And if you guys just are interested in hearing me jabbering on in the beginning of the videos, that's awesome. Like I said, man, if you guys are like, even if you guys aren't interested in watching the tournament, the first 10 minutes or so of each video, kind of hear what's going on, or if you want to know future updates and what's coming up on the channel, stuff like that. These first 10 minutes are usually like important stuff. So, and once we finally go in, start drawing the names, if you want to tune out at that point, so be it. But I mean, this is kind of like us time, right? Give us the opportunity, kind of like, even though we're not talking obviously one-on-one, I kind of view it as our opportunity to communicate. So we're not just diving straight into the matchups. But that's what I got going on right now, guys. Not much else to relay. So with that being said, now it is time to dive into today's matchups. Like I said, for this tournament, we are on round 3, part 3. So, got my little trusty note, got my little bowl here, and we are going to dive in today's. So, this is going to, the first matchup is going to be Black and Gold $1 Million Man. And he will square off against Andre 2 Purple. Next matchup is Big Boss Man. And he squares off against Andre number 2. Well, that's an unfair matchup. 2 greats. King Kong Bundy from Mark Hackenberg will square off against a Hogan Black Series 1. And final matchup will pin Sid Vicious Sid Vicious against Zeus. So, 2 figures that are part of my 10 are going to be squaring off here in the 3rd round. Those are 2 characters that I legitimately thought would be technically be part of my last 5. And, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. God, I hate that expression. What the heck was I thinking? Alright, guys, let me go ahead and pull these figures, and we will begin shortly. Alright, guys, so first matchup we said was Black and Gold, $1 Million Man, and he was squaring off against Andre Purple. This is, luckily with this matchup, I mean, this is a very easy determination. This is, why is it every single time I talk, I always blow my tags away? There's not even a back and forth on this matchup. Andre the Giant all day, every day. I really, it would be nice if literally every single matchup was this easy. $1 Million Man, this is a fantastic customization. The artist that customized this made it to look like a Series 1 Hasbro. The figure looks great. The money wad was more realistic in terms of color scheme to real money, not as dark green. And like I said, I like any custom that has its own little take on the design or color scheme. That's a little bit different. It doesn't have to be fully different from what you get with the original. All you're altering is the purple with gold, and you know what? You made it basically a completely different figure. So even if they didn't change the little money wad, right? If they left everything identical and changed the color of the cash, it still would have been a different figure in essence. So you don't have to have this huge change to you make enough of a difference in customization. So I like those a lot. I have so many $1 Million Man customs, and they're all unique and they're all spectacular. They all hold special meaning to me for particular reasons. $1 Million Man in general is a fantastic figure. May not have the greatest play pose in the world, but it is a solid overall piece. And a figure that for a Series 3 run, or for a Round 3 run for this particular figure, yeah, it's a good run for $1 Million Man. Even a custom, even an awesome custom. Yeah, I know in the first tournament, my what was it? The Wrestling Rider White, and I think what was it? White and Purple, or was it White and Gold? Was like a round 5 figure. So, but still, I still think any $1 Million Man in like the first 3 to 5 rounds is a adequate run, especially considering the amount of figures we have nowadays. When you bounce from 130 figures to 320 figures, you can see why, figures bounce around from 5 rounds to 3 rounds. So, but like I said, that was a very easy matchup. You think about any Andre the Giant, Series 1, 2, or 6, it doesn't matter. A good chunk of your Andre the Giant figures are going to walk away victorious. In this tournament thus far, I think the only Andre the Giants, and I could be wrong, I'm trying to think back of all the Andres. I think there was a Series 1 Andre that was repainted with like red trunks. I think he was eliminated, and I'm not even sure which one that figure went up against. but I think that one was eliminated round 1, round 2. I'm not sure when. And in the first round, like Series 2 Andre that was repainted to look like a Series 6 Blackstrap. A couple of them were eliminated because they were repaints of a Blackstrap. And I wanted the customs that they went against to win. A Papa Shango custom and a Ricky Steamboat custom. Because of they were nice. They were very well done. But this is kind of like a New Japan color scheme with the maroon trunks. And based on his long hair, I should have actually used a Series 1 for this particular color scheme. But Series 2 is more valuable. So when I sent this to Eric, I wanted a Series 2 to be the figure that was done. But either way, Series 2 does move on to round 4, and it's a good movement. I don't think any Series 2 Andre has ever made it to Series 4. And I'm kind of rehashing. In the first 2 rounds, I'm thinking if an Andre Series 2 ever did make it to round 4, no, I can't remember if he ever did. Because I think Big John Studd always took out Andre Series 2. I know because I always based it off of the way that the figures were situated on the shelf. And I know Big John Studd always went up against Hillbilly Jim in round 1. And like round 2, maybe Hillbilly Jim went up. I think Big John Studd went up against like Series 1 Andre. And then he went up against he might have. And then I think he went up against Hogan in round 3. And then maybe Series 2 Giant in round 4. Or maybe somebody else took out Andre before then. It's possible. You know what? I think actually Studd may have taken out Hogan in round 3. And I think Greg Valentine is actually the figure that possibly had taken out Andre Series 2 in the 3rd round. So I don't think Studd actually squared off against this figure before. So I actually coveted Greg Valentine more than a Series 2 Andre the Giant. But in this tournament, if those 2 figures squared off, I don't know if I would even put Greg Valentine over. So, but you won't, other than the Rhythm and Blues, you won't see Greg Valentine anymore in this tournament. So, next matchup is Big Boss Man going up against Andre Series 2 Original. So this is a tough thing. Because even if, let's say Big Boss Man beats Andre Original Series 2. Okay, even if he loses, Series 2 Andre Custom just won. At least you got an Andre Series 2 in the 4th round. It may be a custom, but at least you still have an Andre Series 2 in competition. I really like the maroon repaint, don't get me wrong. But there's always something special about those original figures. And when you look at, especially when you look at a figure like this, which is pristine condition, man, it's special. And this is an absolute beauty. Now I look at, and I have to rehash previous tournaments, right? Because sometimes you have to think about what was your decision in previous tournaments. Now, does your decision in a previous tournament impact your decision in a current tournament? Theoretically, it shouldn't have no bearing, but it's like nostalgia. Gotta get comfortable. Theoretically, when in the first tournament, I said nostalgia shouldn't play any role in making a determination. So, like, if I say, well, Hulk Hogan's my favorite wrestler, but if I say, well, let's say Bruno Sammartino. I didn't grow up knowing Bruno Sammartino. I had no idea who Bruno Sammartino is. But for sake of this conversation, let's say I thought Bruno Sammartino was a better figure. Not even close. But again, this is an example. If I said Bruno Sammartino was better than a Hulk Hogan figure, I would put Bruno Sammartino over simply because it's a better figure. And nostalgia be damned. You know, your personal feelings should have absolutely no bearing. That's what my mindset was in the very first tournament. Now, in the second tournament, I'm like, screw all that. Of course, your personal reflection and how you thought about personal, you know, your history with characters and, you know, your feelings for certain wrestlers and whatnot. Of course, that had to play a role in how you made your selections. Because you have to use certain criteria. I look at these two figures, I'm like, man, they're both perfect. So, if they're both A+ figures, 100 out of 100, what else, how else am I supposed to choose? What other criteria can I use to determine my answer? So, when I look at these figures, I'm like, okay, they both have name recognition. They're both characters I loved and grew up watching and enjoyed as characters, right? So what else could I throw in there? They're both husky, bulky characters, fantastic grips, awesome play poses, beautiful body slam poses, right? And they got those leg separations that I love, so that when you're sitting there wrestling the figures, they have the ability themselves to be body slam, and that is absolute killer. And putting these two together, incredible. Now, these two figures side by side are a lot of would bring a lot of enjoyment. So I go into further details. Well, Boss Man, he's a flashy character. That's why guys like Andre the Giant and Greg Valentine, why it's so hard to put guys like this over. They don't have all that extra color and detail that can really help them win. Because it's a very simple, plain figure. And then you look at this and you see all those graphics and details, it's like incredible. It's a fun looking figure. And then, well, what other else criteria do you have? Well, he comes with a fun nightstick accessory. Accessory? No. And then when I think about Andre, of course, in my mind, I think about Andre later on in life when he wasn't mobile. So in my head, Andre the Giant was nothing more than a headbutt and a bear hug guy. Probably one of the most boring wrestlers you will ever imagine. Nowadays, when I'm scrolling through Facebook, whatever, and I get like these little reels that pop up on my page, and I see friggin' Andre the Giant flying over the ropes and stuff like that, and being body slammed by like Harley Race, and, you know, doing all these amazing things in Japan. I'm like my eyes are like wide open. I'm like my mind is like blown. Like, I am absolutely impressed. 500-pound, 7-foot man, and I'm like, how are you doing these things? Like, it's incredible. Like, where was this Andre the Giant when I was young? Like, if you ask me when I was 5 years old, 6 years old, watching Hogan and Andre WrestleMania 3, I would talk about it like it was the greatest freaking match you'd ever seen in your life. You asked me a year or two ago when I watched that on YouTube, and I'm like, what is this horse shit? It was the most boring thing I'd ever seen in my life. Like, oh my God, I wanted to drown myself. It was so friggin' boring. For 20 freaking minutes watching freaking Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan bear hug each other. I'm like, oh God. Yeah, like, uh, and then you think about Big Boss Man on the freaking mic. He was so much fun. His matches were so much fun. Big Boss Man was always energetic and just so much fun in the ring. I'm like, okay, there is a reason Big Boss Man, and I think Big Boss Man might actually be on the top 10 of my favorite wrestlers ever. So that's what I'm talking about. Why nostalgia, and has to be a reason why it has to be criteria among your selections. It is so. I have to keep talking because I don't want to put this figure down. But it doesn't matter how much I talk. I know at the end of the day, there is just no way I can possibly stomach putting Andre over Big Boss Man. And I remember back when I did my very first LJN tournament, very first round, because they were situated the way they were situated on the shelf. First round, Blackstrap Andre squared off against Big Boss Man, and I put Boss Man over Andre. If Boss Man could beat Blackstrap Andre, of course, Boss Man could beat Blue Trunk Andre. Makes sense. Big Boss Man is one of my 10, and he's one of my 10 for a reason. So, Big Boss Man, moving on to round 4. Man, so next matchup is going to feature Bundy versus Black Hogan. Black Hogan or NWO Hogan versus Bundy. And we'll look at Hogan. Oh, excuse me. Let's look at Bundy first. We'll take off the accessory. So, Mark Hackenberg, King Kong Bundy. You know, I got a pretty beat up King Kong Bundy, man. And I try. It was an absolutely destroyed King Kong Bundy, okay? Like, his face was all, like, painted red. It was just, it wasn't a salvageable figure. Like, I couldn't put that on eBay and try and sell it. And I'm not selling King Kong Bundy on eBay for no $3 or $5 or something. And I know if I put it up for like $10 or something, it wasn't going to sell. And even at $10, if it did sell, I'd get like, what, $7 out of that sale? So that's stupid. It's not. So I decided I would try to play my hand and try to actually paint and see what I could do with it. And I'm like, you know what? King Kong Bundy kind of reminds me of Homer Simpson. Very, you know what? Very similar body type. Why not? The bald head really helps. I'm like, I'm gonna turn my Bundy into Homer. You know, black boots, black shoes, paint his legs blue. Try to give him a white shirt to the best I can. Oh my God. My skill in painting is so horrendous. I should really take the most beat up, messed up LJN figures ever and do some paint jobs and create my most horrible LJN tournament where I kind of display my own work. But obviously, I don't want to destroy LJNs like that. Well, you know what? I could sit there and scrub off all of the nasties afterwards, and then send it to somebody who's actually skilled, like Mark, who could actually do a good job to actually repair the figures and actually bring them back to life. Or send them to my buddy Rob, you know, someone who actually does who actually has talent. But yeah, I just don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I thought King Kong Bundy was gonna be like a really easy figure to customize, but no. But I love this figure a lot. You guys already know King Kong Bundy. Even though he doesn't have the play pose I enjoy, he's got the weight and the girth of the figure, and I love these big, heavy figures. Now, in the 90s, from Galoob, we had Lex Luger, so I'm familiar with playing and working with this particular pose. Now, with Luger, I hated that figure, but think about this. With Bundy, he's twice the size, the weight and girth of the figure. It made it a little bit easier, more playable, more enjoyable to work with the figure. And outside of Greg Valentine, like I said, Bundy was easily the most utilized figure, and something I could really use to exact dominance on the opponents and whatnot. So even though his pose sucked, you pretend to sit there and use body slams and stuff like that, right? This right here is basically his body slam. So, you're pretending a lot. Not like a real body slam like with Hogan and stuff. So you made do out of the figure, and it was great. And what Mark did with his customization, I always talked about, you add shoelaces, adding that secondary color scheme to the boots. Something so simple means the world of difference. Even if you did that to just a regular King Kong Bundy, just one additional layer of color. And it improves the figure tenfold. But giving it an actual t-shirt, and I think it was the 1987 Survivor Series where he was wearing this t-shirt, so it gives you that nice reference point with this particular figure, so that means a lot. Yeah, Mark, he went all out on this figure. Absolute killer. And then Hogan. You know what? When I first brought this figure up, I think I mentioned probably once or twice, or about 50 times, I don't know. One or the other. 1, 2, or the third answer. One, either way. I've said that there are very few figures in this tournament that I kind of feel like have a real chance of beating any particular Hogan in this tournament, right? If you're looking at an original Series 1 Hulk Hogan, or if you're looking at any of the customs, because the Series 1 Hogan, fighting pose and play pose, there's not really a lot of figures out there that have the best opportunity to beat a Series 1 Hogan. A Series 1 Hogan is essentially a perfect figure. So when I kind of looked at, Bundy versus Hogan, if it was like the upgraded version of the Bundy, that would be something to really ponder. But like original Bundy, or even any of like this custom Bundy, I thought, okay, it doesn't matter. We're looking at a Series 1 Hulk Hogan. It's gonna be lights out. Hogan's gonna take the match. I mean, it's not gonna be like an absolute blowout, 90-10, 99-1 type of deal. But Hogan's got this battle all day, every day. But now I'm holding the figures up. I'm looking at the Bundy. I'm talking about the Bundy. I'm looking at the Hogan. I'm not so sure anymore. I still love this version of Hogan. I'm looking at all my Series 1 Hogans. I will never touch any of those Series 1 Hogans. I will never sell any of them off. The Series 1 Hogans mean the world to me. This is a fantastic color scheme. I am so pleased to have been able to acquire this figure. I think in years past, if I didn't have that original blue and white custom Hogan, and I wasn't pinning my original against all customs, because the blue and white Hogan, the custom was always the one that moved forward over the original and all my other customs. So this one and all the other Series 1s, never advanced. But in this tournament, this third iteration, all the figures became their own. They all got the opportunity to square off individually, right? So this figure obviously got the opportunity to finally move independently. He has the opportunity to not only go into the 4th round, but potentially 5th round and further. This whole entire tournament has been shocker after shocker after shocker. And what would I be without shocking you guys one more time? The figure I thought would hands down win this match is not going to win this match. Or is he? I'm going to go with King Kong Bundy this time, guys. King Kong Bundy is going to make it into the 4th round. I just looked at the figures, man. I just think from a custom standpoint, I just think the Bundy was much better from a paint job. And when you're looking at play pose, these guys, they're not cutting off arms and repositioning all. They're just simply doing repaints. And from a repaint, like I said, Mark, his work is as if it was being done on the manufacturer's floor of a Fortune 500 company like Mattel or something, right? So from that perspective, Bundy all day every day. And Hogan, it was done very, very well. Like I said, one of my favorites, but I could not pass on the Bundy in this particular regard. So, I mean, does Bundy make it out of round 4? Once you get in round 4 and you literally have the elite of the elite of the elite figures, I don't know. But I don't think I've ever seen a King Kong Bundy figure make it that far before, so I'm excited to find out. The last matchup is the one I don't want to see. Because I have no freaking idea where to go with this. Zeus versus Sid Justice, aka Sid Vicious. I don't know. Sid Vicious, it's just too easy of an answer for me to say Sid Vicious. So if I say Sid Vicious, am I going off of Sid Vicious because Sid Vicious Galoob is the figure I had from childhood, and it's the most utilized action figure that I had, and if I had to reminisce, it's the figure that I would always say it was my favorite playable figure. When I was young, the wrestling figures that we had, that was it. They're really the only figures I could ever really remember actually physically playing with. Like, we didn't have G.I. Joes or Transformers or Legos or anything like that. I mean, the Ninja Turtles, I don't really remember playing with them like in the traditional sense. I mean, yeah, we had Ninja Turtles, but like I said later on, when I got into like Power Rangers, right? And I, over the years, collected like this massive collection of Power Ranger toys. I never in my life played with Power Rangers when I was a kid. Even when I got older and older, I still collected the Power Rangers. They sat on a shelf and they were collected, like I do now. Like they were collectibles. I displayed them. Wrestling toys were really the only thing I could ever remember from childhood that I legitimately actually played with, toy wise. So when I think about like the few Hasbros and those or the dozen and a half or Hasbros and the 6 or 7 Galoob figures. The Galoob in particular is something. Now, Sid Vicious trumped up to LJN size because he's not the Galoob. Now, this is a LJN tournament after all. It may be the Galoob lookalike, but it's not actually Galoob. It's LJN, right? So you got to kind of think of it from that perspective. It is not Galoob, it is LJN. And if I focus on that perspective, that helps Zeus get some credibility, some additional points. It's still a fantastic figure, one that I absolutely appreciate. You know, not as bulky or thick or heavy as a Big John Stud, and even though he's got the same Big John Stud pose that I covet, I know Sid Vicious in the last tournament, he wasn't part of the first tournament. Yeah, so the first tournament I think ended in April of 2022. And I don't remember when Sid Vicious came out, but it definitely came out after that. But he was definitely part of the second tournament, and he was I don't think he was a finalist. I think he was a semifinalist. So he was part of the last 5 standing. The good thing about Zeus, if he loses this matchup, even if he wins and loses this match, irrelevant. The one thing that Zeus can say, or the one thing we can say about this figure, is that he is technically already a tournament winner. And that is a huge positive. He may not have won a My Favorite LJN tournament, but he has already won a My Favorite Random Treasures tournament. So this figure does hold a lot of value among my LJN figures. Among the Random Treasures exclusive, I've always said this is the #1 best exclusive figure from their roster. The arm positioning, could it be a little bit better? Could it be more Hulk Hogan-esque from Series 1? That would be perfection. They're still very playable. Good. I mean, a little bit higher, maybe. I don't know. Accessory is great. I love the glossiness. The look is spectacular. All of it is design-wise. I mean, Tiny Lister from the Friday movie. What was that movie with the... with John Candy and Eugene Levy. Was it Armed and Dangerous? Was that the name of the movie? And I remember watching that when I was super young, and I just remember him being in a gym and then him being choked out while he's weightlifting and stuff. I'm like, the look that's on his face when he chases the guys out of the gym. No Holds Barred will always be my number one favorite wrestling movie. His portrayal as Zeus in the WWF, as they kind of advertised for the movie, was great. You know, Ty Lister is an actor, and he did a fantastic job continuing on portraying that character, and made a freaking hell of he played him a hell of a wrestler, not only in the movie but in real life too. So, but they never allowed him to stay in. Like, if he was doing like Survivor Series, they never let him stay in long enough to actually show off like his skill set or whatnot. I want both of these figures to be in the semifinals. I want these guys to be part of my last five standing. They are both killer figures. My buddy Bucky, he made a point that both of these figures should be part of some kind of wrestling stable, part of the LJN stable, as tag team partners. And I'm like, heck yeah. These two along with Bruiser Brody, that would be a freaking awesome faction. I am going to make what might possibly be one of the most gut-wrenching decisions of 3 tournaments. Especially considering it's happening so early in the tournament. I am putting Sid Vicious down, and I am pushing Zeus forward to round 4. Zeus has already won a Random Treasures tournament. He is, after all, one of my 10. And I've talked about a lot of the benefits that a Bruiser Brody possessed. Zeus provided a lot of those benefits as well. And a lot of those benefits that Zeus and Bruiser Brody have, Sid Vicious just doesn't have those benefits. So if there really is one figure in my tournament that can really compete against Bruiser Brody, I think Zeus is probably, if not the number 1 figure, maybe number 2, with the most likelihood to really give Bruiser Brody a run for his money. So I think Bruiser Brody, Zeus has to be my option to push forward to the next round. So losing both Sid Vicious and the Blue Trunk Andre number 2, both of those were gut-wrenching losses in this video, but man, they had to be the right choices for me. Sid Vicious, man, I mean, how can my George Washington of action figures, how can he never seem to get put over the hump? LJN tournaments, Ram Treasure tournaments, tag team tournaments, Galoob tournament. Well, not the Galoob tournament, not yet at least, but all of these different tournaments that Sid Vicious has been partaking in. You would think that he would at least be a shoo-in in one of these, and he just has not been able to be put over the top. It sucks. I want to see him win a tournament. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. As always, man, thank you so much for watching. So I'm probably going to put out at least one more tournament video tomorrow. And maybe we'll put another 2 videos out or so before we move into next week. And maybe 3 videos. And then we'll jump into Tuesday's Hasbro video and probably do another like 4 videos or so of the tournament, and then another 3 videos of something else, and we'll probably continue that pattern or so. So we'll see what happens. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye, everybody.